Vegetalia here. I will be doing our recovery diary entry number 4. As you can tell, I am slaying the consistency game. I am putting a video out there again, and I'm happy about that. I'm happy that I'm actually keeping up with these diary entries. Don't mind the cold. I am stuffy nose and all of that. And before I get on to the video, please subscribe to my channel, like, comment, share this video, and maybe we can help each other to get better with our recoveries and get to a better life, because that's the goal, isn't it, here? It's to get to a better life and process all of these things that lead us to, or lead me anyway, and you may or may not be in the same situation, but at least lead me to use eating disorders as a coping mechanism, because that's what it is, isn't it? So please hit subscribe and the little bell icon and join me on my little journey, and hopefully that will encourage me. Yeah, I still have the finger. Hopefully that will encourage me to continue journaling and continue this consistently, because this is really helping get things off my chest. And so you might have noticed on my thumbnail I talk about meltdown, although a little bit over exaggerated. Although outside there is a literal meltdown, I should not be having a meltdown on camera today. Although, because the nature of these videos is totally unedited, totally unplanned, you know, anything could happen. Anything could happen. I'm not ruling it out, but I don't think so. However, I wanted to talk today about the days that have passed. So again, there have been 2 days that spanned out since my last entry. I'm doing this on my lunch break again. I'm working from home again, still writing my scientific article. Doing something really, really boring, by the way. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, I have to give the exact coordinates of all this series of oligonucleotide primers. It is the most boring thing I have ever done, and I have done some boring shit, guys. I've done some boring shit, but this is like, oh my goodness. I thought I didn't know how to do this, and I just realized today, and I'm bored out of my wits. So this is a perfect distraction and a perfect moment to get things out. And I think I wanted to tie together some things that I said in my other entries. One thing being the whole homeworking situation. Homeworking is for me a huge trigger for my eating disorders, particularly my bingey side. I don't know what it is, but I think I just freak out and stuff down my emotions or distract myself from that thing that's going on by binging. I think the proximity to food and the fact that I'm home makes it easier than if I were in another setting. Probably the same set of emotions is there in other settings, but I'm just not in a good environment to binge. I don't know what it is about homeworking, but it really, really sets me off. And so I wanted to talk about that and what I learned from my previous therapy sessions. So what I talked about in my previous entry. So just to summarize, with my therapist, we talked about what causes my binges, particularly actually that's not true. What causes my eating disorder behaviors in any case, whether they are binges or restriction, is a sense of this little girl inside that feels like she has to be hyper vigilant and control everything, and is scared that the hammer is going to fall down on her head at all times. It's just this anxiety, this constant, oh my god, I have to prevent this looming thing from happening. Basically, that is what happened. I realize now, most of the time, my eating disorder behaviors really stem from that, from this moment of, I did something wrong, I'm going to get so punished, basically. Which, you know, I can clearly identify where that came from. My upbringing was tough. as I said, I will go. I think I will. I think the more and more this goes on, I think it's reasonable for me to go into it later, but this is not the video for it. And so I was thinking about these two things. So the home working on one end, and then this what I learned about this part of me that is very much present during and before any eating disorder behaviors come up. And I was trying to like tie the two together, because clearly when I homework, I get the sensation of guilt. If you're at home, you're being a lazy bum, which really isn't true. Like most of the time I get the same, if not more, done when I'm at home. Like there are exceptions where that's not true, but actually most of the time I get more done. So there's this guilt of being home and being perceived as a lazy bum, I guess. And then there's this thing that I talked about my rhythm not being quite the same, and so earlier in the day I get less done, and so like I get more done later in the day. That's just how I roll when I homework, and like it's like as if in my head, for this time this wasn't done, and so shit hits the fan and everything goes wrong. And from there, eating disorder behaviors kick in. And in this case, it's more likely to be the binging eating behaviors than the restrictive ones, because the restrictive ones are usually there most of the time, most of the rest of the time, and probably also contribute to the fact that binging occurs in the first place. And I am working my butt off not to give in or to all the restrictive parts, so that at least it doesn't give more advantage, I suppose, to the bit more leeway for the binging to happen. Guys, keep in mind, guys, that compared to what I was years before, the behaviours that I actually express are a lot less. It's just saying how bad it was before, because it's still pretty intense, but for me there's been a huge decrease in my eating disorder behaviours over the last, let's say, 5 years. Anyway, I was trying to kind of think, how could I optimise my home working so that I don't get into this space where I have a problem every time I homework, and therefore I don't homework, but then I probably should because I get more done. I just want homeworking to be a good thing, rather than something where I think, I'm going to binge every single time. And I'm trying to rationalize it like this. Homeworking is a problem for me because I feel guilty for not doing enough, or guilty for not appearing to do enough. I think it's even more about that. It's more the appearing to do enough. Okay, so I feel as if when I'm homeworking, I'm being lazy. I'm not doing enough. I think if we go even further, is that I am not enough. The solution, the logical solution to I'm not doing enough, is to do more or do better. I would say do better rather than do more, but you could also say, well, I'm going to work more when I'm at home. That way I kind of think, okay, this is worth it. I would argue I would want to work better, more efficiently, more intelligently than rather than more. But, each their own. What on earth has food got to do with this? It just dawned on me, what has food got to do with it? How is food going to help me get more done? How is food going to make other people think I did my work? It's not. It just isn't. And so these behaviours are really stemming from a place of that lost child, that lost, just basically always guilty child, the child that was told intrinsically you are bad and guilty and shameful. And the only way that child, and I'm talking about myself, knew how to deal with anything was stuff it down with food, because a child doesn't always have a rational coping mechanism to deal with something, because it's a child. But I, as a grown woman, as grown-up Leah, still use those mechanisms, but they make no rational sense. They bring no good value to my life. And as long as I don't understand this, in general in my life, but in this particular situation with the homeworking thing, which is for the moment a really big issue, as long as I don't understand that food isn't the problem, the answer to my problem, sorry. The answer to my immediate problem is I feel guilty about people thinking I don't do enough. So either I go to work, either I go to my workplace, so that solves the problem, or I work better at home so that I can feel good about myself. Sorry, my little bunny. We have a bunny and a bunny and a cat, and my little rabbit's coming to say hello. Sorry about that. So either I go to my workplace so that I don't have to feel guilty about this, or I work better so that I can feel good about myself. But going out in the kitchen, binging out on food after having restricted because I felt I didn't deserve food, either way does not make any sense. It's not going to solve my problem. It's only going to make matters worse, because potentially what I'm going to do is feel so bad I can't even sit at the desk and work. Or I don't have the energy and I'll have to go to bed, or I'll just zone out in front of my computer and just do what I can, but not very much. It's an irrational, and in this case, in my case, a child's reaction that I have kept repeating over and over and over and over and over again. So what I can do is work differently. But not only can I just work differently, because the very fact that I'm home is a problem. It's not just how I work during the day. That's definitely a huge issue. But the very fact that I'm staying home is an issue. So if I'm going to stay home sometimes, which I really want to do, I also have to find other things, other ways, like to get rid of that what are people going to think of me if I work home kind of part. And that's where the little child comes in, that little hyper-vigilant child who has to be perfect at absolutely every freaking second. Not second, every freaking millisecond. Who has to just be the best all the time at everything, in whatever. It has to just be absolutely perfect. Everything has to be seamless, perfect, the best. And also has to preempt what people are going to think of her so that she does things that make sure that people only think good of her, if that makes any sense. So the very fact that I stay home is a problem to that part of me. Not only is how I conduct my work during the day an issue, the very fact that I'm staying home. And as I said, going to the workplace would be a solution, but I also want to be someone who can say, I can work from home today, it's fine. And this ties into my last session with my therapist. We had, if you haven't watched my previous entry, which I encourage you to do because it's hella awesome. Yeah, I'm just being silly, but it is good, I hope. I hope I got my point across anyway. But what we did was give some space. So this little girl, I really feel her as like a ball in my stomach. I really feel like a pit in my stomach that tightens up. It's like, oh my god, that's petrified and that feels so ashamed and just all of these things. And I think that when I use restriction behaviors and so on, it's just an automatic reaction of this part of me. It's a part that's trying to make me better because in my mind, not eating or not eating this or this or this makes me better. And then gets to a breaking point, like that lasts a certain amount of time, and then it gets to a breaking point where then it gets the body takes over, but also I stuff my emotions down. Like there are two causes to why I get to binging. It's the body that's like, oh, I want the food now, and also the brain, because I'm not at a stage where I'm restricting really my calories and so on. So I don't think my body is in a caloric deficit. But I do like restrict on certain, I still have restriction that happens. I'm really working at it, but I still, I know I still have some restriction patterns. And so my body and my mind kind of go, oh, and ask for the binge to happen. But also there's this aspect of the binge is also going to help me stuff my emotions down, stuff that little girl down. And instead, I think probably what I should do now is when I stay home and work and this sprouts the anxiety of what are people going to think of me, I should give her space, like I did during the session at the therapist's, and let her relax and tell her she's safe. And I hope experience this very freeing thing that I had when I went to my session, this very, I just let her be there. I let the anxiety be there. I let the worry about what people think of me be there, and recognize that it was serving a function, especially in the past, that it kept me safe in the past, that it wasn't really relevant. Sorry if my camera moves, by the way. It's my rabbit moving the thing that's on the camera's on, so sorry if the camera moves a little bit. It's my bunny giving it some action. Not literal action, sorry, that sounded wrong, but just moving around. So it's not irrelevant, like the behaviours that she's having and the worries she's having are not relevant to the situations that are there now, but they are all she ever knew. And in the past, every single moment was a moment of anguish. There was no break, there was no pause, there was no moment of, you can cool down now. And so she doesn't understand that. And until I give her the space to be there, and to reassure her as an adult, look, it's fine, I'm here, you're heard, you're valid, you're safe. And so my challenge to myself for my next home working session, which should be either Monday, Tuesday or Wednesday next week, I don't exactly know yet, but I should work from home Monday, Tuesday or Wednesday, or any combination of those days. My challenge to myself is to, at the very beginning of the day, I will experience this anguish. I know it happens every time. Hello. Hello, Muffin. Do you want to come and say hello? No? Okay, wait, I'll get everybody to say hello to you. Muffin! Do you want to say hello? You saying hello? I don't know if you saw him. I will check it on the video later. But anyway, so my challenge, I can't help showing you my animals. Like I'm a vet. Like, I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm a vegan vet, so that's even worse. Anyway, my challenge to myself is that I will check in next week, one day where I'm home working, and this day I hope that when the anguish kicks in the morning, I can sit there with everything that comes, and sit there with that worried, petrified little girl, and just sit there with her, and recognize that she's there, that she's trying her best, that she's doing it all that she knows. And hopefully by doing that, I can make home working a safer thing. And I will at least have tackled that issue, which for the moment is a very big one for me. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please, 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 please encourage me by liking and subscribing and hitting the bell. And I hope that this encourages you to set your own little challenges on whatever issue it is that you're having, whatever situation that you're feeling is not quite right. I hope, whether that's in eating disorders or not eating disorder related. And I hope you have a beautiful weekend, because the weekend is coming up. And we'll be seeing each other next week. Ciao, ciao.